Hello friends, how are you? My name is Arith Härger, and today I'm here to give you a little sneak peek on an interview conducted by Witchcraft Studies. Ms. Josie Reuter, who runs that YouTube channel, sent me some questions and I've answered in video format. I've given interviews before, but this is the first time for YouTube, which is pretty cool. I'll leave down below in the description the link to Witchcraft Studies YouTube channel as well as to the entire interview. This video right here is just a sneak peek. I've chosen one of the questions to present you and I hope you enjoy it. The entire interview can be seen at Witchcraft Studies YouTube channel. I do hope you enjoy it. Cheers! Next question. What are Asatru, Vanatru, Rokkatru and Thursatru? Did they exist back then or is it a nowadays concept? Yes, these are all neo-pagan reconstructions. Some are more philosophical than others. As I've said in the previous question, there wasn't a specific organization in pre-Christian Scandinavia. Asatru is definitely a religion with a couple of official organizations, mostly in England, Iceland and North America, USA, which are the three main countries that started the development of reconstructing Scandinavian old faiths. Asatru is just an attempt to reconstruct parts of the pre-Christian Scandinavian faith, very much focused on the Æsir tribe of gods, occasionally including Freyr and Freyja from the Vanir. This is the only branch of Nordic neo-paganism that has a clear, organized religious structure, conducts ceremonies, sacrifices, feasts, and there is a very healthy and thorough work in the recreation of the Old Norse pagan faiths. Vanatru, it's almost a spirituality that came to give a certain opposition to Asatru, because Asatru began as a faith that tried to focus on all the gods, but as it developed throughout the 20th century, it became much more focused on perspectives of social order and social activities, much more concerned with the community and the needs of a society. So much more focused on the Æsir as the main tribe of Norse deities. So, in contrast, Vanatru came to focus on Old Norse spirituality in other realities, much more concerned with fertility aspects of life, magic. Well, in truth, Vanatru is an attempt to get closer to the true sense of the word paganism, as in classical Latin paganos, rural and rustic. So Vanatru is a much more nature-oriented spirituality without the organized religious structure of Asatru. Vanatru is the only branch of neo-paganism, neo-pagan Nordic faith that I haven't made a video of, and I would very much like to develop that in the future. This doesn't mean that Asatru isn't also nature-oriented in certain aspects. What we have to understand is that we have come to a point in which Asatru is a branch of Nordic paganism, and Asatru itself already has ramifications. And within Asatru, there are certain groups that conduct things differently. Some prefer to be more nature-oriented, others prefer to focus on more philosophical and scientific aspects, while others focus much more on the myths, etc. Speaking of Rokkatru, the main purpose of this spirituality is indeed to focus in all the gods and all the spiritual entities of the Old Norse faith. Rokkatru also includes the so-called Rokkr or Rokkar type of deities, such as Loki, Angrboda, Jormungandr, etc. Rokkatru tries to focus on the darker and chaotic aspects of nature and the universe, as well as the lighter and more orderly aspects, trying to see a balance, not dividing the faith into a dualistic perception of good and evil, but on order and chaos as realities that are necessary in order to give continuation to existence. As I have said before, the darker and chaotic aspects of life, nature, and the universe must be encountered and accepted, not evaded and denied. By knowing the dark side of wisdom, the self is refined. So Rokkatru aims to include all the gods and all the aspects of nature, trying to break the dualistic aspects of religion. Asatru, for instance, denies the chaotic entities of the Old Norse faith as being gods, and therefore they are not included in the worshipping. And as such, half of the understanding of Old Norse views on the spiritual and divine realities is simply put aside. However, there is a particular problem within Rokkatru. Most people who claim to be Rokkatruar prefer to focus their spirituality on personal gnosis. I respect that, and there is nothing wrong with that, until people blindly believe in their own personal knowledge of the gods. And this leads to many problems because people start to believe in fantasy characters or create their own fantasies that go absolutely against Nordic paganism or paganism in general. And people claim that the gods spoke to them and told them their stories. I repeat, there's nothing wrong with that, choosing to live in a personal fantasy, but many times their personal fantasies are perspectives from other faiths that have nothing to do with Old Norse beliefs. And it turns out to be a complete mess, and obviously no one will take these people seriously. This is not what Rokkatru is about, and I'm not sure why there is this increasing belief in personal gnosis within Rokkatru. Certainly, it's a spirituality much more focused on shamanism or shamanic activities, but one thing is constructing a plausible and well-structured spirituality, and another is living one's fantasies and claiming to know the real truth about the gods. That's the real problem of personal gnosis, to claim that they know the truth because the gods told them. Maybe the gods spoke to them, but I highly doubt the gods told them stories with a lot of Wiccan, Buddhist, and even Christian perspectives. Blind personal gnosis certainly gives a bad name to what Rokkatru is trying to aim at. Rokkatru tries to focus much more on a Paleolithic and prehistoric perspective in general of Old Norse beliefs, without religion as a means of expressing faith, but rather raw spirituality. Thursatru is a philosophical and spiritual understanding of Old Norse religion and mythology, but it must be underlined that when Thursatru was created, the basis of this philosophy cannot be considered pagan in nature. However, many modern heathens adopted certain aspects and philosophical perspectives of Thursatru and applied to Nordic paganism. Thursatru has its basis in anti-cosmic Satanism, which is a form of Gnosticism, and therefore dualistic views were brought into Norse myths in this path. But dualism itself is foreigner to the original nature of Old Norse beliefs. So in this aspect, Thursatru is not the rebirth of any tradition of Old Norse practices and religious beliefs. It's something completely new, but highly interesting that should definitely be explored, because the philosophical, spiritual perspectives of Thursatru focus much more on the chaotic and darker aspects of life, nature, and the universe, aiming to reach enlightenment precisely by understanding the darker aspects of all things, without creating a fantasy world where everything is good and pure. Unlike the three previous neo-pagan reconstructions of Old Norse beliefs, Thursatru is considered a left-hand path of Old Nordic spirituality, much more focused on the development of the self rather than the community. So it's much more individualistic.